We're back with the final play. I know Facebook, you've been here. Back on the Just Good Network. I'm Jansen Harris here with Locke Hoover. So let's throw this into play. We didn't get to talk about it enough. This kid out there for Oklahoma, Trae Young, he's been lighting it up, 40-point games, 20-point games, only 19 years old, about 7 games under his belt. They're already comparing him to Steph Curry when he was in college. Do you think that's a fair comparison? Touching a little bit on the college game.
That's a dangerous one.
It is really dangerous.
And
pressure.
Is this comparison of Steph now or Steph in college? How are we comparing? Because you've seen how different of a player Steph has turned into. He's gotten a lot better. So are they comparing him to Steph now or Steph when he was at Davidson?
I think they're comparing him as Steph as at Davidson. They're saying about this kid, which is phenomenal. And some of the games I've seen, just lighting up the scoreboard quick. He could score in bunches. His shot is pretty good. Could get better defensively. I do have my concerns about him getting all this hype this early. I think we're not even halfway through the season. The level of competition is going to rise up. People are going to start watching the news a little bit closer, the scouting reports. I think he's a phenomenal kid. Do I compare this to Steph Curry? That's a little bit of a reach. But
I agree.
Good.
I agree and just say be careful with putting expectations on this kid, because what if he goes to the league and he turns out to be JJ Redick? Decent. He's a fine NBA, decent NBA career. He's been in the league, what, 10, 12 years? I don't know. I have to go double check what Redick's been. Fine NBA career. Fine NBA career.
Yeah, I mean, J.J. Redick,
but
he's not a superstar. He was supposed to be coming out of Duke,
right?
But I mean, I'm just thinking about that $20 million the Sixers just gave him. Hey,
right? I mean, that's what I'm saying. Fine career, nothing wrong with it. But what if he turned into that? That's just saying. Be careful with the comparisons when you say someone of one of the top 5, top 10 best players in the league right now.
Yeah, and the expectations are always different. I like to say this, too. There's players like, let me reach a little bit, like a Kenyon Martin, even a Michael Beasley. Michael Beasley had some success with the Knicks coming off the bench, a couple 30-point games, stuff like that. But when you're drafted in the top 5, there's a different expectation. You're expected to be an elite player. Yeah, you're going to go through the growing pains, like there's going to be excuses in the beginning. I call it excuses in the beginning, and you having it to develop. Oh, he'll get it next year. He's still young. Once you're in the league a good 5 to 7 years, that's when potential has to hit. Okay, he could do this. He's a bona fide all-star.
Or that's the player you turned into be. You turned into be a 6-man who will score 10 to 15. Or you're a 3-point specialist.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that
right.
If you're not drafted, to me, in the top 5, even top 10, depending on the team's expectations.
Right.
But this Trae Young kid, they're talking about him right now possibly being the number 1 pick in the draft next year, which is scary. I mean, there's some chatter on Instagram as well. I was reading up on it, saying if he falls to number 4, which is probably going to be the Cavs pick, the pick they got from the Nets, could he be playing with LeBron James? So,
that'd be a nice fit for him. He didn't have to be the guy. He can be a player that could develop into who knows what.
Okay. So, and again, that's if he falls to number 4. And that's a big difference, though. If you look at some of the teams they're going to draft in the top half of the draft, Orlando's pretty bad. The Atlanta Hawks they could win the lottery. Chicago. Imagine going to one of those teams, and then imagine going to the Cleveland Cavaliers. So that's a big difference right there. Do you see Trae Young going number 1?
If he is I could see him go number 1. I haven't seen someone really come out and rise as being the best player. And he's clearly the best player. So I could see him going number 1, absolutely.
Highly marketed, and I forgot he did get a lot of praise from Steph Curry himself. Steph Curry watches him play. LeBron, to me, it's a recruiting tactic as well. LeBron had some comments to say about him too. Said he played really well, loves watching him play. So that could be something that sets up for an interesting scenario when draft time comes around. And touching on that, because the Hawks could eventually get that first pick, touching on Hawk basketball, Dennis Schroeder, pretty good player. Actually has a spot in Atlanta, got a little sports bar down there. Been there once, a nice little hookah spot. Should they think about moving him, possibly? Dennis Schroeder. He's their top scorer. We haven't talked a lot about the Hawks because the Hawks have sucked. Nobody wants to talk about the Hawks. So what do you think they should do with Dennis Schroeder?
It's been the conversation for a while with the Hawks and Schroeder. What do you do with them? I mean, you just traded Teague. I think Schroeder could be a nice piece. I don't know if he can turn into the star.
And it's like they want him to be a star, right?
Or a star like Westbrook turned into.
Oh no.
That's what I'm saying.
Like the Rondo type, old Rondo type.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I don't know if they can turn him into, if he's going to turn into that. So it's a tough call. If you can get a first rounder from him, sure, but I don't see them getting a first rounder. So you keep him, and maybe he's a piece you can build around to get potentially, like I said earlier, NBA is so screwed right now where you have to have stars in order to compete.
It's hard to build a franchise. Ever since Boston,
you have to go buy them.
Yeah, you got to buy them. Ever since Boston, and then you had LeBron James taking his talents to Miami, and then just the biggest one of them all to me, Kevin Durant joining forces with the Warriors. You got to get players and touch a little bit about Jeff Teague. Jeff Teague, which people hate on Teague. Teague's in the top 10 in assists right now. Teague's all right. Jeff Teague's all right. People hate on him, but he's doing all right now. I think I don't know if they should have moved him. I think, again, going back to before, I think Jeff Teague would be great, especially great coming off the bench for a team like OKC. A team like even Cleveland could use a Jeff Teague. I think Jeff Teague is not a star, but he's a good piece, great off the bench. So to touch on that, I think the Hawks messed up with that, how they treated Jeff Teague towards his end of his tenure.
And it was kind of that thing where you had either who you going to go in with, Schroeder or Teague. We still got Schroeder under contract, and Teague is, he's about to be a free agent. Or we've got Schroeder who's developing. Has probably more upside, higher potential than Teague, but Teague's more consistent. And so no, let's roll with Schroeder, see if we can get something for Teague, and then hopefully it turns out good for Schroeder and Hawks, and they've gone through this rebuild, and so it's kind of what you expect.
I'll say this for Hawk fans, man. They just completely wrote off Dwight Howard. They didn't even think about it. Got rid of Dwight. What made me sad, because I still think he did well by Atlanta as we close up this broadcast soon. Paul Millsap, man. Paul Millsap was a Warrior. Consistent. One of the most consistent players on the team. No contract situation coming up. But I thought that was a mistake, them getting rid of him. I thought he was a good veteran, good guy you could bring around, guy you can learn from. I thought when they got rid of Paul Millsap, I was like, okay, I know this is going to be a down year for the Hawks. Not this down, but I thought it would be a down year. And Coach Bud has his work cut out for him. I think right now they're in tank mode. If they get a Trae Young, they need a star down here. If they can get a Trae Young, then I'll be good. So I'll just leave it at that to wrap up this broadcast. Want to thank everybody out there for listening. Jansen Harris here with Locke Hoover. The final play on the Just Good Network. We broke down the AFC Championship game. We broke down the NFC Championship game. Follow us on social media, Facebook, Just Good Network. Go like our page. Subscribe to us on YouTube, Just Good Network. Follow Locke. Locke, where are we going to find you at on Twitter?
Lock It Up 24.
Lock It Up 24. You follow me at Media Jansen. Go ahead and follow, tweet the page, Just Good Network on Twitter. Everybody have a good night, and remember, you are what you focus on.